Do you ever feel like something's missing, even when everything seems in place? You wake up, work hard, smile. You try to be grateful, and yet something inside you feels disconnected, like you're living someone else's idea of happiness. What if I told you that's not a flaw in you? That's the system working exactly as it was designed, and until you see it for what it is, you'll keep chasing a version of life that was never meant to fulfill you. They told you happiness was the goal. They just never told you it was a moving target. Since childhood, you were trained to chase it through grades, trophies, compliments, cliques. And so you ran. You smiled when you didn't feel like it. You performed strength when you were exhausted. You told yourself, "I'm fine," so many times you started to believe it. But underneath it all, something felt wrong. Not broken, just off. Like you were wearing a costume for a life that never fit. That's the first crack in the illusion. When you stop believing that success equals peace. Because modern happiness isn't about truth. It's about appearance. Look successful, look grateful, look like you're enjoying every second of your life. But real life doesn't move like that. It's messy, boring, confusing. It includes mornings where you don't want to get out of bed, relationships that ache more than they heal, and victories that feel hollow when you finally hold them. But no one tells you that. Instead, they sell you a version of joy so polished, so artificial, that your reality feels like failure in comparison. You scroll through lives that aren't real. You compare your behind the scenes to their highlight reels, and you start to feel ashamed of being human. So you chase more, way more, pretend more. But no matter how fast you run, the emptiness keeps up. Because here's the truth. You were never taught to be content. You were taught to be hungry, to be dissatisfied, to believe that peace is one promotion, one partner, one purchase away. But peace doesn't live there. Peace isn't found in having more, it's found in needing less. And here's where the pain comes in. You've been measuring your life with someone else's ruler, living a story you didn't write, following a script that was never yours, and every time you succeed at it, you move further from yourself. So if you feel disconnected, it's not a flaw in you, it's a sign you're waking up. Because the system doesn't want you to be free. It wants you to be productive, predictable, profitable. But freedom doesn't look like endless pleasure. It looks like clarity, and clarity begins here, by admitting that happiness, as they sold it, was never real, and that you're finally ready to stop chasing and start facing. The modern world tells you to escape pain. The Stoics told you to face it. Today, they sell you dopamine, comfort, and distraction, anything to keep you from sitting with yourself. But the Stoics, they offered something else, something harder, something holy. They said, don't chase happiness, chase virtue, build strength, cultivate clarity, seek alignment with nature and reason. That sounds boring to the modern ear. No highs, no fireworks, just discipline, stillness, a quiet kind of power. But that's exactly why it works. Epictetus had nothing. He was born in chains, a slave. He was beaten, mocked, powerless. But he discovered something most people never find, even in freedom: inner command. He realized that while others controlled his body, only he could rule his thoughts, and when you master your mind, no one can enslave you again. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, sat in marble halls, surrounded by politics, pressure, betrayal. Every night, he opened his journal, not to be seen, but to see himself. He wrote things like, "You could live life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. And if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." He wasn't chasing applause. He was fighting for alignment. Seneca, playwright, philosopher, advisor to Nero, had everything, and then lost everything: wealth, influence, power, gone. But his dignity remained. Because dignity doesn't come from status, it comes from principle. The Stoics knew you can't control the world, but you can control how you respond to it. And that control, that internal discipline, is the foundation of true peace, not the fleeting kind, the kind that doesn't flinch in the storm. That's why Stoicism isn't a trend. It's a weapon, a sword forged in silence. It won't make you smile more. It will make you see clearer. And maybe that's what you've been missing. Not another hack, not another affirmation, but a way to face life with eyes open, spine straight, heart clean. The Stoics weren't trying to feel better. They were trying to become unshakable. Sometimes misery doesn't scream, it whispers, "You're doing everything right," and it still feels wrong. You work hard. You try to stay positive. You follow the habits, repeat the mantras, consume the right content, and still the silence remains. Why? Because you're trapped in 3 quiet lies, not loud enough to notice, but strong enough to poison you. Let's name them. You confuse pleasure with peace. Pleasure is easy. It's a click, a swipe, a like, fast food for the soul. But peace, real peace, is different. It's built, earned, practiced. It's not addictive. It doesn't spike your dopamine. And that's why we ignore it. You keep feeding yourself stimulation, thinking it'll make you feel alive, but it just numbs you further. The more you chase pleasure, the more you drift from yourself, because pleasure fades. Peace stays. You depend on validation to feel worthy. It's subtle. You say you don't care what people think, but you check, you compare, you hope. Every compliment lifts you, every silence disturbs you, and slowly you build your worth on borrowed opinions. But if your value can be given by others, it can be taken by them too. You become a hostage to perception, living not to express, but to impress, until one day you wake up and realize you built a life to please people who were never paying attention. You treat discomfort like an enemy. You run from pain, from silence, from stillness, from the voice that says this isn't it. You avoid discomfort thinking it's danger, but discomfort isn't your enemy, it's your compass. Growth lives there. Clarity begins there. Everything you're looking for sits on the other side of what you're avoiding, and until you stop running, you'll keep circling the same emptiness. These three lies are elegant, invisible, they sound reasonable. That's what makes them dangerous. But now you've seen them, named them, and what we name, we can dismantle. Inner peace isn't found in noise, it's found in clarity. In a world obsessed with more success, more validation, more distraction, the Stoics chose less attachment, less illusion, less noise, because they understood. Peace doesn't come from controlling the world, it comes from mastering yourself. You can't quiet the storm, but you can become still inside it, and that changes everything. Focus on what you can control. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions, that's yours. Everything else, the past, the future, other people, isn't." Peace begins the moment you stop pretending otherwise. Practice negative visualization. Imagine losing what you have, your job, your health, someone you love, not to suffer in advance, but to see clearly, to remember this moment is not guaranteed, and that makes it sacred. Embrace discomfort. The Stoics didn't avoid pain, they trained with it, walked with it, not because they were cold, but because they were free. Avoiding pain makes you fragile, facing it makes you unshakable. Reflect daily. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote every night, not to be admired, but to confront himself. What did I do today? Where did I act out of fear? Did I live by my principles? That kind of honesty builds clarity, and clarity builds peace. Remember your mortality, memento mori. You will die. And that truth is not a curse. It's a compass. When you remember how temporary life is, you stop wasting it. You speak what matters. You forgive faster. You show up. This is the Stoic path, not to feel better, but to live better, not to avoid chaos, but to walk through it with calm. You don't have to control everything. You just have to control yourself. And that is enough. Letting go is not weakness, it's clarity. It's standing in front of what once ruled you and choosing to walk away without anger. You don't need closure from others. You don't need permission to stop carrying what's heavy. You don't need the past to make sense. You just need to release, not to forget, but to be free. Letting go doesn't always feel like a triumph. Sometimes it feels like silence, like walking alone, like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. But in that silence, you return to yourself. Let go of who you were supposed to be. Let go of the life that never fit. Let go of chasing what was never yours. You're not here to perform. You're here to live. Let go of the applause, the guilt, the expectations, even the identity built on pain. Because healing isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Let go of the need to be understood. Not everyone will get your path, that's okay. Peace doesn't need to be seen. It just needs to be lived. Let go of control. You never had it anyway. The only thing you truly own is how you show up right now, with presence, with virtue, with quiet. strength. You've carried so much for so long, and now you're allowed to set it down. You're allowed to walk lighter, to move slower, to breathe deeper. This is the beginning of peace. Not the loud kind, the silent one, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself, only to be lived. Maybe this whole time you weren't lost. You were just surrounded by noise, and now you're beginning to hear yourself again. The pain, the confusion, the numbness, they weren't signs of failure. They were signs you were waking up, signs that your soul was starving for truth. Not happiness, but alignment. Not motivation, but meaning. And you don't need to fix yourself. You just need to return to clarity, to virtue, to stillness. That's the Stoic path. It won't make you feel good all the time, but it will make you free. If something in you was moved by this, if you felt seen, not as a project to fix, but as a man remembering his center, then this space was made for you. Subscribe to Virtue Mode, not for motivation, but for reminders of what you already carry within. This isn't self-help. This is self-respect. Welcome to the path.